maybe on the product side, or like you said, you were beginning to talk a little bit about working with teaching pros and clinics. Tell us a little bit about the product side of what you're doing, which clearly you have experience with Babala and Wilson.
Right. Well, for sure, products, obviously, it's really, we're in a really unique time here because the manufacturers have just had two incredible years back to back. And even right before the pandemic, 2019 was a very strong year for most of the racket brands, definitely a bit of an uptick from the years prior to that, where things were either flat or a little bit stale of sell-in of rackets and sell-through. So working very closely with the TIA, Tennis Industry Association, which also work with the manufacturers very closely. So we're looking at, obviously, the big impact has been tennis balls and the tennis ball shortage. Just recently, there's been another shutdown, obviously, over in China, which is going to impact a lot of different products all the way into 2023, just because of the shutdown that just happened again. So there is demand. The good news is a lot of the rackets made it to the mass retailers for those lower price rackets for the entry-level players. So that's really good news. And the sell-through has been strong and continues to be strong. Through the Q1 data we just got for this year, for 2022, was up 11% overall just for rackets. And 2021 was a record year, for, the highest in at least 20 years for the manufacturers. So the retailers also on the back end of that for sell-through. I mean, if I talk to the top 10 to top 20 retailers, I would say about 90% of them will say they just had their strongest year ever. And even in 2021, things were really slow and still, sputtering a year ago in January. So with that even stall out of the blocks out of 2021, they still had an incredible year of retail sales. And the game now is getting product, working with every manufacturer possible. You're seeing tennis balls sell through from every brand. And a lot of the manufacturers, people don't realize, have moved away from red, orange, green balls a little bit just to get production of regular tennis balls, because it's basically a choice. You want to make regular balls or the low compression balls. So they're still available out there. It's just that's one of the things that's been a little bit of a shortage on, and the shortage is going to continue into 2023. So we know people run out and they've been buying tennis balls and by the case. I know a lot of high school programs across the country had a hard time getting their tennis balls, and tennis balls is definitely a futures business. The manufacturers, they ask the retailers to put in their orders well in advance, 6 months or more in advance in most cases. And some of the smaller retailers, maybe some of the clubs aren't used to doing that before COVID, and they all got a wake-up call in the last year of not being able to get their normal tennis ball that they would get, and they're going to other alternative brands that maybe have inventory and had inventory before, but everybody's killing it with tennis balls. And where you can get them, you get them. You don't get too picky with them, basically. So that's manufacturers, retailers are all doing really well right now, and they needed it after the changes at retail and some of the strategies from some of the larger apparel and footwear brands, where they scaled back from tennis in terms of their retail footprint and consolidated down to just a few core national retailers. It's made it really tough for the pro specialty shops, but they've more than made up for it now in the past 2 years, and they're doing just fine as well. So that's really encouraging to hear, because we got to have those pro specialty retailers. So consumers, if you want to buy a performance racket, a graphite racket, you want to demo it before paying $150 to $250. And that's critical to be able to do that. The online retailers they're doing great. They have great reviews and great digital content available for consumers. So it's almost impossible not to find the right information or the right racket or the right product these days. So it just continues to evolve. And obviously we're in a unique time here still that's going to, impact well beyond 2022.
I'm sure, yeah. I know you've got a really good strategic partnership set up with hang tags, head and pen equipment, and that's even for adult members, $44 off either a head racket or I assume pen balls, right?
Yes, yeah, and I don't think, I mean, obviously there's not a lot of tennis balls available online, so that's a bit of a tough one. But yeah, we're going to grow that program as well. So, it's just great for tennis consumers in general. Before your big value proposition, you get Tennis Magazine, which is awesome. But now you're going to get a lot more. We did a lot of survey and market research with what members and just tennis players would want that play so many tournaments and leagues, and equipment is at the top of the list, or one or two, depending on the questions you ask. But we're giving them what they want, basically, and it's going to continue to grow, and you'll see us promote that more and more as we progress through 2022.
That brings us to the next question. We like to talk about future projects, head pen at the moment, but tell us about some of the things that are on the horizon, things that you can talk about, like whether there are strategic partnerships or deals that players can take advantage of that you're working on.
Yeah, I think you'll see that program will evolve to offer not only just as a membership for an adult member, but we'll be able to offer stuff for junior members, even though junior membership's free. But some of our partners will allow, if they want to offer something that's a great opportunity for a new beginner player, we're gonna go for that, and that's going to be a great thing for tennis consumers to draw them into the game and try to make it less expensive as well to get in the game, especially for new players, and make it very economical and very practical. So we're gonna push hard on that, especially with the amount of new players that are in the game right now. We need to make sure that they have a great opportunity and great value to play the game.
Mickey, let's get away from the product side for a moment and talk a little bit about the technique. We made the offhanded comment that table tennis was easy to learn, obviously very hard to master. I feel this way about pickleball in many ways, padel, some of the other cousin racket sports that we all have and love. Tell us about that free lesson that was online and how you are working on getting these new players a little bit of instruction, because let's be honest, sometimes tennis looks gorgeous and easy and amazing when we play it, and even more beautiful when Federer and Serena play it, but it's tough sometimes, and they think it's just going to be a nice long rally and they're sweating, but sometimes they're chasing balls. What are you guys doing about that?
No doubt. So when you get that free junior membership, or even when we obviously with some of these great incentives for new members or returning members on a yearly basis, the information you find on playtennis.com, especially for the juniors, there's free virtual lesson at home in your driveway, not just to say, hey, we're not playing in a big, at Bent Tree Club. It's actually right in your driveway. Right. You can learn how to play some mini tennis with some red, orange, green balls. And there's a lot of different content there targeted towards new players and beginners.
We'd love them to come play at Bent Tree Country Club. There you go. Send the millions over here. I mean,
I don't even mind. I don't even mind having a 50 and over driveway tournament in my house. I love that kind of tennis. That makes me a better volleyer. All that little kid tennis stuff, which is all the texture, spin, right?
Very, very texture oriented.
Right.
He always makes fun of me for using that word a lot. Mickey, good stuff. What about the future in general, and how much you work with other departments? You're a managing director of engagement and services. You're probably pals with all the other people in player development and all the other big departments. What are you guys collabing on right now?
Well, for sure. Obviously, marketing supports everything we do, and marketing is a big part of, for example, these retail free lesson pilots that we got going. Obviously, part of the membership, where we're going to really kind of amplify this new value proposition for members as we get through this year. Since it just started, we want to make sure it's going smoothly, because it's two different digital platforms talking to each other to make this work. So it's going quite well, and that's why we're now going to scale it up and bring that up. But even just within the USTA, my biggest role is obviously working and making sure we're engaging and collaborating across the industry beyond just even the tennis retailers and brands. And that's, I think, where we ran into you guys, obviously, back in October at these Tennis Industry United appreciation tours. And basically, we've been going around across the country to different sections. For example, Atlanta, Dallas, Cary, North Carolina, Boston, Kansas City. We were there about a month ago. And basically, we're trying to bring all the different silos within the tennis industry together, because we know all the racket brands, they have their ad staff meetings in a city or section. The sections, they have their own, governance meetings, et cetera. The retailers don't really get invited to anything. And you got all the teaching pros, they go to their own specific, which organization they're aligned with or part of. But we're trying to bring all of them together into one room. And for example, these retail pilots started out in Denver because of a conversation between a couple of us and the retailers that were there talking to the teaching pros. And we said, how do we pull this thing full circle? Because they're obviously a big part of the consumer's tennis journey. They're the first stop on it. So we get them on board. Great things are going to happen for new players in the game. It's going to be a much better experience. So we'll continue those. We're going to go out on the West Coast in the back half of the year after the U.S. Open and hit a few spots out there. And literally it's, talking to the key influencers, key providers, and key tennis folks across the ecosystem to make sure that, we know what they're doing and they know what we're doing, that we're there to support them and provide a high level of service. And if it's not working, let's figure out where we can work together better.
Tremendous. As a tennis industry professional, I know I speak for Craig too, we loved the energy behind that Tennis United initiative, the event itself. It wasn't just fun and we learned a thing or two in the conference kind of stuff the next day, but the camaraderie and just that feeling of, hey, we're all on the same team and we all have similar opportunities, similar strengths, threats, challenges coming up, and let's all navigate it like champions together. And that's what I loved about that whole weekend, really.
No, well said. And I don't think we have enough of that. I think a lot of people work in their silos and they do their own thing. And I just, working for the brands for so many years, we'd have ad staff meetings in different markets, and you get the teaching pros and coaches out, and in a lot of cases retailers there, but that's still missing a lot of people in the tennis ecosystem, from PTAs and the sections and obviously even just volunteers across there. It's great to get everybody together in the same room for once in tennis, and we hope to continue these events like that across the country and learn from them and continue to evolve that.
I applaud it, and we'll come to the next one, too. Mickey, last two questions before we go to the crowd in this second set. One, I want to go big picture, and then I want to go small picture. Let's start with the big picture. On Wednesday, Craig and I did a short version of our show, no guests, just us, and we ruminated a little bit on Arlen Kantarian and some of the strides he made. And this is a controversial guy who was given a large budget, and we're talking, 10, 15 years ago. What are some things that he did that were home runs? And I'm thinking big picture, Hollywood, big marketing. And what are some things that you guys are looking to do more of that might be either inspired by what he did or new stuff?
Well, obviously the U.S. Open is a pinnacle event for the U.S. in general. I have a lot of friends non-tennis players that go to the U.S. Open because it's such a great experience. Yeah. What a showcase for the sport of tennis. You got wheelchair going on there now. That's a really cool part of the event. That's definitely more in the foreground now than it was before, and our team's doing a great job with that. So I'm confident the U.S. Open itself is going to continue to grow in terms of spectators attending, viewership. You can watch everything. I was just watching a live stream of some college matches today that happened that were pretty big. And, years ago, you couldn't do that. I'm watching a court 5 of a D3 match and just blown away by that. So I think there's ways to reach new players, new audiences, and doing some different things. But, that's just one example there. Our membership initiatives, some of these industry events that are going to spin off of that. We hope to launch a couple new things like that this fall, like I said, with the membership.
Great stuff. Let's go very small picture. Mickey, you have such a background in the product side. I want you to give some advice to somebody who might, it's two people who might be listening, let's say, two distinct players. One is a retailer at a specialty shop who feels like he is successful, but he's losing some business to the large online retailers. And the other person I want you to address is somebody who doesn't have the touch point of a really good coach in the neighborhood or in their town. And this person is maybe used to play and coming back to tennis, or maybe never played, but this past 2 years has picked it up. So talk about both those things, and you can interweave if you'd like.
Perfect. Well, let's start with the retailers. Obviously,
Okay.
It's close to everything I do, close to my career, and have a lot of them are very close friends of mine. And I got to say, obviously, if they feel they're losing out, what'd you say, to online or the big online retailers?
The big 4 or 5 online, yeah.
Well, obviously, if you go back, there was such an evolution of retail in general across the U.S. But, the biggest thing is everybody's had to adapt, even well before the pandemic. There's definitely less pro specialty retailers in the U.S. now, but the ones that are there I see are definitely healthier and stronger than they've ever been before. I think a lot of us, there was oversaturation of retailers coming out of the 80s and into the 90s from all the major racket brands where they had a lot of retailers, but they had it easy. Consumers would just come in their doors, ask for a racket to demo, and off they go. But you've got to do it differently, because obviously the internet made everybody have to look around, look over their shoulder and start checking prices. And what happened was map pricing came along once the internet retailers got going, just to keep it an even playing field. And in the U.S., you can have such thing as a manufacturer's advertised price policy. So basically, you have to advertise it at that price. You can't advertise a racket like that. So that really does make it an even playing field. And outside of the U.S., there's really no policies like that. So in the Europe, it's a little bit more of the Wild West. You'll see a lot of different pricing advertised, and it gets a little bit crazy there. Same thing in Latin America. But it's really unique. The retailers, in a way, are protected in the U.S. by map pricing, and there's even some higher levels of map pricing. You can have specific retail prices for products, and that really protects the brands, protects consumers, and gives them an even playing field out there. So, but the biggest thing is the pro specialty retailers just have to be more creative. They have to engage with their local communities and make sure they have a great assortment of products to try. And if they do that, they'll succeed. If they, they just got to work a little bit differently than they did in the 80s and 90s. And there's not a lot of young retailers in the game. And that's one thing I hope, we continue to keep these pro specialty retailers healthy because they're critical to the game growing at the local level.
Well said, Mickey. Thank you. And that's really good advice for the teaching pros, shop managers, and retailers. Let's shift over to the individual. Maybe they're not going to use the kind of racket that an accomplished player like you would use, but what are some things you would advise those people to hit with, to purchase, to go find lessons or groups? How would you start somebody out?
Wow. Well, today, now more than ever, it's so easy to find a high-performance racket almost anywhere. And obviously, the online retailers have demos available. You can definitely go to your local pro shop within a tennis club or pro specialty retailer and get a great assortment of demo rackets to try. And they should be able to give you great advice of a good, better, best racket to fit your price point. And literally, you can find every price point of anything. For even below $100, you can get a great, you can get a graphite racket that's going to give you great performance. And even some of the entry-level rackets, they're so refined now that you're going to get a great option there. So really, it's kind of pick your budget of, pricing, below $100, above $100, or get what you need. But it's really easier than ever too, just to do an online search of a racket and then go find it at your local retailer. If you just want to order it online, you can do that as well. But there's a lot of information out there of finding the right racket that really makes it easier than ever.
Well, Craig just handed me something from his unbelievable collection. You might remember this from your days in
He does.
Yeah.
He does. I knew he would.
Look at this thing.
I was at Prince right before Mickey joined in.
Yeah, you were there, right?
Yeah. So I saved one. I saved one of God's rackets. I thought it's going to be a funny talking point. 27 years later now, we're still talking about God's racket. When you're talking about rackets, I go, I got to show Mickey. I'm sure. Do you have a God's racket in your?
Well, believe it or not, I've got a lot of different rackets and a collection of unique rackets from my days in the industry, but I don't have a God racket, and I need to get one of those. And I do remember in my early days at Prince, some of the legendary sales reps that were there at the time always talked about that racket because it did create quite a controversy. The whole marketing campaign behind it was, some people took offense to it, and it definitely, though, created a lot of excitement. I still see some retailers have posters of that thing in their back room when you go across the country, and it was definitely something to talk about. And the ad campaign really was brilliant. That got a lot of attention, whether you like it or not. And this is just some of the creative that came out of some of those days was just off the shelf exciting.
It was definitely a memorable, fun ad, and I'm so glad you still have one of these.
I had to answer a lot of questions. It was like, wasn't that sacrilegious? That mortal hitting that backhand passing shot against God, he comes flying across, and then all of a sudden the mortal goes,
and God showed a little anger and frustration. That was weird.
I was like, ooh, okay. Yeah, I thought, now, I like that kind of humor, but I think a couple of people took offense, and then we also had a controversial catalog for clothing. I don't know if you remember that catalog, Mickey, that showed a guy reading a magazine, a girl magazine.
Oh, it was a Playboy or something. It was
like, okay, we better. But that's the Benettons. I mean, the Benettons were
aggressive. Exactly. They pushed the envelope, no doubt. If you remember all their ad campaigns from that brand that was so popular across the world in the 80s like that, and I know they still have some of the largest textile factories in the world that are still cranking out apparel for their own brand. So.
Oh yeah, no, it was interesting working for them because I missed and to be during my tenure, we had God's racket. That was probably the most popular racket. We had the Michael Chang long body, the Ripstick, and the Mach 1000. That's what I had in my bag, Mickey.
I think the mono was in your era too, right?
Yeah,
the mono?
It was. It had just
that would have been about that time.
Yes, Connors liked the mono, so that's where the Ripstick and the Mach 1000 came from, and then the Michael Chang long body. So that was in my bag of tricks. By the time. You were, about 3 or 4 years later, maybe early 2000s?
You got it. Yeah, I was college coaching when those rackets came out. But what an exciting time. There was so much change with the long body rackets, the mono rackets, that, where you had to figure out what you wanted to try and demo because everything felt so different. And I remember with those mono rackets, you could get so much angle on the ball and just really, hit some different shots. And I'm still surprised that type of technology is not around as an option, especially when you had somebody like Jimmy Connors that really, he had a hard time, it seemed like, locking into a racket. And once he found those, he played it towards the end of his even exhibition career, I think, with that racket, right?
He did. It's funny. I was a hitter in one of the Mentadent Champions Tour stops, and it was Gomez, Noah, Jimmy, and McEnroe. And it's a funny picture of me on one side. They didn't hit with each other that much because if they were getting ready for a lefty, they'd play with Gomez getting ready for Jimmy or whatever it was. But when they wanted to play against a righty, they would grab one of us righties as hitters. So I'm on this side. John and Jimmy are on that side. Jimmy is trying John's Max 200G, which was really long in the tooth at this point, and John's trying Jimmy's mono.
Right.
And I had a friend click a picture of this, So here's John with his very straight arm forehand with that mono, and here's Jimmy hitting double-handed with the Max 200G. One of those rare moments in time, and for that reason, I'll always keep a mono in my garage or something. Love that thing.
That's right, exactly.
Courtesy of the great Steve Davis, I believe.
That's right.
Steve was an awesome racket designer, developer. I know Mickey knows him well. We actually had him on about 4 months ago?
3 months?
3 months ago, right. He was doing touch
I bet he was talking about touch tennis.
Yeah,
He
that's correct. Absolutely.
Was.
Yeah, we got him talking on that just a little bit, but we did get him to talk about racket technology. I mean, the guy was really smart.
Such an engineer,
Yeah, oh yeah,
He's one of the greatest, really, and he was behind a lot of those cool rackets that came out. I learned a lot from him and did a lot of play tests as a sales rep back in those days with him, and just was, incredible amount of talent. I was fortunate enough to be around some of those sales teams, product teams, and marketing teams from those days early on with Prince.
Yeah, no, it helped me where I am now. I mean, I can talk about rackets ad nauseum to people, and I don't try to overdevelop and over explain what's going on. But Steve gave a great explanation of things, and the people at Prince were really nice to me for a year. I was there for a cup of coffee. I was there for about a year and a half, and had 3 rounds, I think, through the selling cycles. That's about it for me. But I really learned a lot. I mean, it's really interesting about rackets. I had never, done anything with rackets before. I just played with rackets. I didn't know how they were made. And then for somebody like me to be able, it was like a kid in the candy store, and I'm sure the same thing with Mickey. When you went up to Bordentown and you were able to go back in there and see what they were coming up with. I mean, Howard and the gang and Steve and all those guys. They were just
Howard Head, Bordentown, New Jersey.
Oh yeah. They were just a really interesting time. You had to go back. You had to have a card to get back into where the R&D stuff was. You couldn't.
Top secret.
Top secret. Yes, that's correct. I'm sure Mickey was back there a lot.
Yeah, I would try to get back there, and you're right. I was like a kid in a candy store when you go to a sales meeting or a rep advisory board meeting, and we had those things going then with the other brands I work for too. That was really unique with a French brand like Babolat that's based in Colorado, the U.S. operations, but bringing the French over to share some preview technology was definitely a challenge. But at the time, they weren't too interested in sharing with learning the U.S. market, and we did a lot of you could say consumer insights tours across various clubs and places across the U.S. and show them, hey, we need a pure drive light. Look at all these women's 4.0 players, and they'd like something a little bit lighter. Can we just get a light one? And hence that brought on a flood of sales for pure drive light, pure drive 110, et cetera, and the story goes on. But yeah, that was a great part of getting that brand to number one was, working with those product teams to open their eyes to, here's what we need in the U.S. market, and good things will happen if you can do it. And they built things that were exactly spot on, right for the consumer. So that was a really cool thing on the product side of things.
I remember about 10 years ago, you and I talked a little bit. I think you and I had sons who played a good level of tennis in 10s, Little Mo, 11 and under, 12 and under and all. And I think we talked a little bit about I had sawed off a couple of rackets that were premium, really good Storms, not the Storm Tour, but the very normal one. And the idea that, gosh, it's light and flexible, and I can chop an inch off or two so he can play in whatever regulated kind of thing. You're such a tinkerer, and you had similar sort of stories. Tell us about the Pro Room in Chicago and some of the special stuff that came out of there that you and your son might have used.
That's cool, and I'll even go to Lyon, right at the Babolat headquarters, has a pro room like that there, where there's a lot of custom rackets in there. Great if you can get your hands on some of that stuff if you're a tennis geek like me.
Right.
Same thing, the pro room, Ron Rocky and the team there in Chicago. Really cool setup right across from O'Hare Airport there. And that is everything happens right in that room there. A lot of the R&D. And just they're doing play tests all year long there with even local teaching pros. We would have come in hit around and you hit 10 different rackets that all look the same. And they're dialing in the right layup for each model, which is really cool to be a part of that process from start to finish, and seeing how something like the Clash racket comes about of, wow, everything's stiff and stiffer, and all of a sudden, how about something with a little softer feel like I grew up with playing in the late 70s and early 80s, where you can feel the ball on your strings, and boom, that hit a different nerve like no other. And so that's where a lot of those consumer insights, play tests, and tours are so critical for the racket brands to make sure they're evolving in the right way.
That really resonated with people, the more flexible rackets. And I think I remember, I believe you were at the helm when you guys rolled out the Babolat Pure Strike. At the time, it was like black with a little of that lava color. And I remember thinking, okay, they've got 16, 20 rackets out. Some of them have blank butt caps. Some of them have a Babolat. Some of them, I think it's a Wilson blade. Some of them, it's a little head heavy. I hate it. This one was perfect. And, you just kind of, we hit. And we did volleys, and then we'd write a few things down and evaluate all 16. At some point, it was too many probably, but what a pleasure being a part of that. Well done.
Yeah, I can tell you we did a big play test in Dallas during the development of that franchise of rackets. And I tell you, it's funny to see some tennis techies that really think they know, and then it's like a wine tasting where sometimes the wine that you get down at the $3 Chuck or whatever ends up being the number 2 choice between everybody. It really blows people away. You're like, no, this can't be, or that the racket that I thought it was. And yeah, it's that racket. So it really does play tricks with your mind, and that's why they got to make these play tests kind of blacked out rackets to really get the feedback that they want to hear and verify it and make sure it's valid.
That was interesting.
Because even paint on a racket plays with people's. We know how touring pros.
It does.
They have the exact same racket. And if it's a different color of paint, it changes the way the racket. They see it out of the corner of their eye differently, and it bothers them and gives them a perception that the racket's different. And you can have that racket identical, but they'll think the paint is heavier or whatever, but it gives them a perception it's heavier. But I've been amazed to see how just different colored rackets over the years just really mess with people, from touring players down to club players. They'll say, no, this is not the same racket. Well, yeah, it is.
It is
a different color of the same racket.
I just remember Mike Moore. He brought Babolat rackets by. I know Mike. He was the rep from Houston for years and years and years.
Many years, yeah.
Yeah, many years. And he brought this racket by after the Pure Drive. Roddick was using that. And he goes, there's some kid over in Spain that's using this racket. It's the Aero. This is the Aero Pro Drive. And I go, Mike, come on. I go, we had seen, had done that pyramid triad.
Triad,
yeah. And then it wasn't going very well. And then all of a sudden, Mike brings this thing over, and I'm like, Mike, come on, this is late 90s. He goes, no, there's some kid in Spain that's supposed to be really good.
He's going to be good.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's just sales rep speak. I go, you don't BS a BSer. I've already heard that stuff. And then all of a sudden, man, that was you guys hit it at the right time with Babolat, with Nadal and Roddick,
Kim Clijsters, Carlos Moya.
Yeah, that was a great group. I mean, the team that I think you all dug down deep and started seeding rackets early on with those kids, and then all of a sudden, man, they just hit it big time. And I was like, there's no way this Aero Pro Drive is going to ever stay around. And then it's one of my best sellers. It's up on the
for sure.
Yeah, I'm like,
still,
I didn't see that coming.
23 years later, here we are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. With Babolat, their grassroots program was critical of seeding rackets early, well before I arrived there, and really got the seeds planted for us to come in and then build a ad staff around that and just connect all the dots. And they're cranking away today. Arguably the number 1 or 2 brand globally and performance rackets, and they've got a great story. Still family owned, and Eric Babolat does a great job. Very connected to the U.S. market and the U.S. team. They've got a great team in place, and it's exciting to see what's going to happen the next few years.
We'll have to get your prediction for the French Open. After he's worked all three companies. And unfortunately Prince is really not around. There's one or two players that and that's a different story. But we'll have to get his take on the Wilson player and the Babolat player for the French Open here in the second and the third set.
And he was with Babolat when they signed the Roland Garros signed Babolat as the ball.
Yes,
he was with Wilson when they signed Wilson as the ball. So, some good's going on here.
This guy knows a little. He has a little insight. Now he can go back and tell us now that he works for neither company, so it's not an industry secret anymore. It's kind of like the files for JFK. It's 50 years later. Well, it's 5 years later. We're at USTA now, so that's long gone. All those secrets.
Il parle français, and evidently the Guy Forget and those guys, Amélie, they must listen to Mickey. We like that.
Well, at least Rafa, you listen to Mickey, don't you?
Well, thank you very much, Craig. No, I'm so proud to have Mickey on the program tonight, and I'm very thankful for you for trying my racket. No, it's 20 years ago. No, Craig is not going to hit forehands up here. No, he's normal, but one day we'll collaborate.
Yeah, well,
no?
I don't use the semi-western grip. I'm still a little bit more continental. So sorry, Rafa, but
I like the lefty swing there. Look at that. Yeah,
he almost hit me. I had to move out of the picture. That. No, you've been around some great stories, some great times. USTA is really lucky to have a guy with your experience. I mean, really, I can see another great revolution. You did for Wilson, what you did for Babolat. I know we're in good hands. USTA takes some knocks every now and then. To run an organization of that size, I think everybody's going to have a few knocks on. You can't. That's just part of the nature of the beast, probably. Probably even growing up. I mean, there are people who said, "Hey, little Craig Bell from Oklahoma City, that guy, he can barely manage himself, much less manage, a club with about 400 players out there. How did he get that job? And I'm sure you all heard similar things. AJ heard similar things, or Mickey heard similar things, growing up. Or if you start working for a big company like that, I'm sure there's a lot of people throwing stones at USTA, that don't know really what they're talking about.
Well, I think I'm always a person that sees the glass always half full. I always try to find something positive, figure out a way to work with it. So that's why I approach things back in my days with the brands as well. What problems do we need to solve? And that's what I'm trying to do now. So right now I'm pumped. We got a lot of people playing tennis, a lot of interest in tennis, in racket sports in general. And I'm doing my best to make sure that we keep this thing marching north as much as possible going through the next few years.
Love hearing that. Rock solid. As we wind down the second set, CB, we've got a few questions from the gallery here.
Nick was just talking about people making their own rackets since 1996. People thought I was crazy. Why not let people make their own specs with whatever frame? I think Wilson might have done a little bit of that with some various rackets.
A platform, and then you customize, build it lighter, heavier, whatever.
Right. I think.
Yeah, Wilson's got a really cool concept. They're custom rackets. You can basically design cosmetically based on some templates there. Pick your colors, and you can put your name on the racket inside the throat. Really cool concept there. There's a little bit of lead time involved with it. It's like a 60 to 90 day delivery type of thing there. But that's really cool. I think Head also through the years have had that's more of a, where you can dial in the actual weight, I believe, of the rackets a little bit more. I'm not up on that this year, if they're still continuing that program or not, but there's a lot of unique things. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be some really cool things coming, in the next few years, digitally, that connects rackets with consumers, like you have in a lot of other retail things. Also the way you can design the rackets will evolve. I think everybody's probably going to end up having some type of custom programs, depending on what happens with the supply chain over the next year.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of golf, but I had an opportunity to play with these PXG clubs where you could make it heavier or lighter. It's sort of Nick's comment about you could customize them, and I thought, this is about to happen in tennis, and I love it. I mean, I do it anyway. I do it for my own sticks, but for that to come to the mainstream is kind of cool. The freedom and the empowerment of the end user. We love that.
No doubt. Yeah, I think customization will come to more than just tennis rackets, for that matter. Obviously, Adidas and some other brands have had it with shoes. You can design that, but I think you'll see other categories that I think the brands are working on down the pipeline to allow consumers to custom design it.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring back that Ultra. It had that stiffness of about 80.
It's like, it had the perimeter weighting system riveted in.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
I love
the original Ultra you're talking about, the black one.
Black, yeah.
Man.
Legendary racket.
I strung out about 75 pounds with Pro Blend, man. That was ooh, my elbow was.
I bet you cracked the serve with that thing.
That was an awesome racket. That's still my favorite. And I know, we were talking about rackets with Steve Davis. He and I used to go around the block. I go, come on, Steve, make something stiff. He's like, no, Craig. People don't
want stiff.
They got like that. They want that little softer feel. I go, no, Steve, come on. Give me that stiff one like the Ultra. He goes, no, that doesn't sell. I'm like, well, in Oklahoma City it did.
It did in your house.
I think that original Ultra was maybe the coolest looking racket in its time. That had that almost all black, black look, carbon fiber look.
Yep.
Wow, that was just, you had a couple of those in your bag. You were good to go.
Our club pro, he had a bunch of them. I mean,
he did.
Wilson loved Roger Jack at Woodlake Racket Club. I mean, he had and they came in a box. Remember, they had a white box and they had Wilson on the side. I was like, man, that is living.
That's sharp.
Oh, man. Yeah. He had about, I don't know if he had 20 or 15 or 20 boxes like that. There were 4 and 5/8. I was like, whoo, man, that guy, he must, it was just a really great racket at the time. And it was a nice look, and just in general, always thought that Ultra was that's still one of my high water rackets, right
there. For sure, a top 5 racket of impact, in my opinion, on the marketplace and for consumers around the world.
Yeah, T2000 was Wilson's biggest racket seller, if I'm not correct. Still, the T2000 was it?
I think it might be, and globally, I think Prince Pro was still had the most units ever during a year, I believe, but. Those are definitely up in the top 4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of our readers mentioned the original Prince original graphite. That was a hot.
The POG, obviously. POG, you were a junior player and you had 3 or 4 of those in your bag. Those were the thing to have, as well as the Boron, the Prince Boron. Had that really cool look to them, and those are pretty stiff as well.
Yes. Yeah, and then the bag, that leather bag, man, that was so...
that suede, beautiful leather bag.
Our buddy Eric Carita, you remember Eric Carita?
Yes, the Chicago big server.
That's right.
Yeah, he comes down to Dallas. AJ's really good friends with him more than I am.
We hang out almost every Thursday night that he's down here. We play music and eat good food together, and he's such a great singer. But at some point, I got to get a couple of my friends there so they can have their Boron signed by Eric Carita.
Yeah, that was his racket. That's the racket, kind of like Nadal with the Aero Pro Drive, Roddick with the Pure Drive. Eric Carita made the Boron. I mean, I just remember.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I can't remember how high he got. Did he get top 20 maybe? Or,
I think he was 20-something in the world.
Yeah, 20-something for like a short time, but obviously
he had some
injuries, and but his serve was just out of this world there. I remember those years, and
his serve.
And he had a poster from Prince. When posters were the thing.
It was every tennis shop I went to at a tournament and away, whatever. It had him with the racket like this, and it said. I think it said the Prince of Tennis, 149 mile an hour serve, something like that.
Yeah, and he was holding on to the racket, and his head on top of the racket or something. It was something kind of similar to that. But he's a super nice guy.
He's amazing. Yeah.
And talking about fast serves, did I read something this week that Opelka hit maybe? Hit a new record this week, maybe?
150 something. I read something like this too. Yeah,
I think it was this week. I didn't see much more on it if it's true or not, or verified. But was that on clay too? If that doesn't sound like possible with the heavier balls over in Europe, you'd think it would happen over here, but who knows? Or I haven't heard any more on it, if that's verified or not.
Or if it happened in Europe, it might have been Madrid with the altitude.
Yeah, it could have been the altitude. That's true.
Could have been Madrid in the altitude, or I doubt it was against Stan because he only played one match, lost to Stan Wawrinka at the Rome.
So here's
Italian Open.
Here's what the fastest second serve ever. So John Isner holds the record for the fastest serve, 157. But I thought it was Sam Groth. I thought that was
Groth a few years ago.
Yeah,
and maybe that was in Korea. That would some of the equipment might be a little dubious or something like that over there. But Riley Opelka with a 233-kilometer, 144.8 second serve in the quarterfinals of the
second serve. Okay.
Yeah, second serve holds the record for the fastest second serve ever recorded. So,
Boy.
woo, man, that 144. That's, I guess you're going for it at that point, right? You think you served and volleyed on that?
Yeah, no time.
Yeah, no time.
Yeah.
He might have been up 40-love and he just went for it, huh?
Just right back and fired a second serve. But yeah, that's amazing. It's interesting, the technology. You think the technology, with a wood racket, these guys would be serving that fast also too?
Gosh, I've seen over the years when some players pick up a wood racket and they're still clocking it pretty surprisingly hard. I just don't think they'd be able to do it over and over, like over the course of a match. Their arms would maybe fall off. But I think if you said, give me 10 serves after you're warmed up with a wood racket strung with natural gut, they're going to clock that thing pretty good, I do. But, it's amazing that, it's just players are in so much better shape and the training's so much better, regardless of the equipment. Then you throw the equipment into it and, it's crazy.
Oh.
I was thinking, is the USTA coming up with any type of rules, maybe that, are they toying around maybe with one serve? You hear these kind of things talked about. Do you ever have those think tanks where you all just sit around, around the big circular table and just go, okay, 100 bad ideas, let's go?
Yeah, no, I don't. And I haven't heard of the ITF is probably the one that would lead something like that. I just, as a college tennis fan, I don't know, and watch, my son plays a lot of junior tennis and play college tennis next year, but I'm not, do people like the no-let rule in college tennis? Is that well received after whatever it's been, 15 or 20 years of playing with that?
Yeah.
Is it well received? I'm not sure.
I think it was about 96 or 97 when they started that, and I was just watching one of the super regionals. This is the Sweet 16 of the men's. This was Stanford at Baylor, and the couple of the people that were with said, "Hey, when does this no-let thing go to the ATP?" Because they've done it in the next gen, that Italy, 21 and under kind of thing, but the tour, and I think they've tried it in maybe futures, maybe challengers.
I think they did some futures or challengers. I never really heard or saw the full results of that. My personal opinion is like, hey, there's lets that happen during the point. I think in today's generation where attention spans are shorter, younger people to attract viewership and that, I think we should speed it up. And I'd love to see lets go away, and takes away a lot of controversy, honestly, when there's, junior players and calling a let. And was that really a let? Or, anybody playing a tournament, that's happened a lot. So I would like to see lets go away. I just think speeds up the game a little bit and gives it a little more excitement too, potentially.
Mickey, I'm with you. And I was there with a few friends, but also a kid who I hit with who's being recruited by a couple of those schools, and he was so excited to see it, and that brought me all this joy. Like, not only is he excited to see this amazing level that he might be a part of one day, but also the chase down a let serve, or the son of a gun, lucky, like that. Like, that's cool. And then if you pan over here from where I was sitting in the second row off court one, there are all these kids who'd never seen it at all. And they were maybe 12, and they were like, "Oh my God, did you see like that?" And I thought that's the excitement we love.
I think it's exactly what would be well received by a lot of the junior players and kids in this world. A little bit of element of surprise too. So makes it, a little more of a neutral ball for the receiver.
I would have liked to have called the let serve on Riley Opelka's second serve. Sorry,
let.
Riley. There's let. I heard it. Phantom let,
Craig and I used to joke that when they did it in 96, 97, when NCAA Division I only, men's only, enacted the play the lets rule, it ruined the day of those kids who were getting aced and just saying let.
Oh, yeah.
That was the
play two.
Yeah, that was the fraud that they got rid of with that rule change.
Exactly. Exactly. No doubt.
There was a lot of phantom lets up around college tennis when I was playing.
He's a big server. He's probably been called on a few lets. Phantom lets.
Oh, yeah. Imagine Eric.
Phantom lets.
Yeah. There were a few, probably, the Salukis never had that happen to them, I'm sure. In Carbondale, did they?
Not at all.
We all smile about that because we all know that we've been victims of that. I've never done that kind of stuff. I'm just not like that, and I know you all aren't like that either. But it's happened to me a couple of times, and I wasn't real happy about that, because you just know that you hit one, and you just know you felt it, and it just hit the screws, and boom, it was off, and that was a let. Sorry.
And if they're doing that to you, you want to go in the tournament desk and ask for fingers fortescue.
Right.
Somebody up there to feel it.
Right.
To call it.
Yeah.
Sad stuff.
Yeah.
Well, CB, any others from the crowd before we go to the third set?
No. We can do the third set. And we were kind of in the third set.
Well, we kind of are. We got casual. Mickey, before we get to the fun pop culture third, are there any questions that you wish we had asked you in the current and future projects that maybe you want to plug for the USTA, what you're about to do?
Well, I'll even just what we were just talking about there. I'm excited to see some of these technologies that can help call lines potentially on the court for the common player, and obviously swing vision is something that's out there that's really cool. We've done some stuff with them, and I know we're doing a lot of play testing and things like that. And there's Play Site that you can watch, live streaming matches and get some other great data out of it. But it's going to be really exciting in the next basically 24 months to see how that scales up, where you'll be able to put your iPhone or iPad on a back fence, and it's going to be able to call the baseline on the opposite side better than I think your human eye can from the stuff they're seeing. So obviously they've got to work through it and do a lot of play testing with it, but that technology is very close to making line calling something that won't be such a controversy for your average league match, your friendly competitor match, and all the way up through juniors, college, and I would even think futures tournaments and things like that, where you don't get a lines person or even a chair unless it's further on in the event.
That's interesting.
I mean, that
is fascinating.
Yeah, and there are even ATP 250s where that main court has the tech, but those courts have humans only, and this would be scalable to, like you said, recreational tennis, but also the mid to low levels of pro tennis.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that really tells you that technology is very serious is Apple. If you saw during it was over the holidays actually, and during some of the NFL games on some of the commercials. The Apple Watch commercials, when they launched the new one, I guess it was early in the year, January, they showed a person serving, and they look at their serve speed from that technology and that app that syncs up obviously with an Apple Watch. And that just shows you when a company like Apple is behind the technology and actively promoting it on national TV, not on the tennis channel or on CBS during an NFL game, that's big, and they are truly behind it. We've had some great conversations with them. They think it's a potential game changer, knowing that that brings a chair umpire to every match, and it's really going to make it appealing for every player just to throw it up, let alone the great data you get from that app.
Yeah, all the data coming from
that is a game changer. I mean, there's that guy Gregor Gentile that was out of Northern Cal that had that. You could hook onto the
guy.
Onto the
net post.
Yeah, net post. And I thought, boy, that's a really cool idea. And I know he's still selling some of that. Our buddy Swell Mel McCree from Lubbock Country Club, he bought a couple of those, and he said, it didn't work too bad. Indoors wasn't so good, but outdoors, it was okay. But that's even one step further. If you take that kind of technology, that's a huge game changer out there. All those unofficiated matches that. Well,
I think you're going to see the availability of that, of just a lot of public facilities, and I'm sure private facilities as well, but we'll be installing just the brackets right on the back of the court and have them ready. So you show up,
hang your phone,
literally put your phone in, hit play and on the app, and you're good to go, and if you've seen that app work, basically you can go back after a rally, AJ and I are hitting, there's a baseline call, and you go out and you hit, there's a challenge button on the app that basically, shows the last three balls, the points, and you pick the one you want to look at, and it does, very similar to what Hawkeye does a zoom in and shows you in or out. And that's just incredible that it's going to be available it is available right now as we speak. So whether or not it'll be used in tournaments, I think to be seen, but I think it's very, very promising.
I think if you all sanction it, if you all USTA, if it gets the seal of approval from, Big Brother USTA, I think that's a game changer for everybody, right there. That or ITF approved or
ITF
USTA,
right.
not at the Net podcast approved, but
Mickey, this is actually a question for club director Craig Bell here. How many people? Give me a percentage. Would like that kind of accountability, and how many people would hate it? I'm talking about average club players.
Boy, that is really interesting right there. That's like those kids that call the Phantom Lead.
It's the
now
same
you're going to be exposed. You're really getting. I mean, like I said, it's got to be something where it's USTA approved because that's where the seal, comes in. Probably. Boy, that's a great question. I've never honestly cheated anybody. Have I ever missed a call? Maybe, but for the most part, I was always a fair player. But I know there's others out there who probably would stretch that line a little bit and make it just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to say 20% maybe?
I was going to guess 20%.
Yeah, 20.
I don't need that.
Yeah. Right.
I don't want it. I don't. Some people, the people who consider the line out,
right,
and they really sell it like, that was out.
That's TCD leagues here in the Dallas area.
We've seen it. We've seen it, man.
Oops. That was a bad call. And then
that's what I was trying to bait him with asking that question.
Yes. That's what I mean. You see bad calls from your intermediate league matches all the way up to futures and college matches, high intensity college matches at every level. It's so competitive. There's so much come on in your face that it, literally on every point that you can't that it's just very delicate, sensitive area, the line calls, and I don't know how much the benefit of doubt is given in some of those matches.
So does USTA, do you like the fact that, behind you is the U.S. Open and you have officials on the court? I mean, because you've got some really great matches over the years, that the famous one with Frank Hammond in the chair.
Oh, yes.
McEnroe, the night match.
1979, McEnroe and Nasty,
What a great, I remember that match, watching that in Oklahoma. So do you think from a USTA standpoint that you lose a little bit of that when you've got, the technology like that where it makes it, even across the board, or do you like a little WWE where, there's stuff going on?
Theater.
Oh my goodness, that was great theater that night. I remember that back in 40 years ago.
It really was great theater, great entertainment. But I think you've seen that already across a lot of different sports, obviously with replays and now being used. That it's just technology. You got to roll with it. It's an evolution of things, and obviously there's some characters in the sport now that are getting tennis highlights on ESPN, not just for a win or a loss, but for other things. And that's maybe not a bad thing to have tennis on SportsCenter for some unique or trick shot highlights or whatever else may be out there.
Yeah, there's a few out there that can bring the crowd to get it going. I won't mention any names, but. There's been...
Mate, you call yourself a journalist, mate. Piss off, Craig. Next question.
That's right. Nikki Kiggs. Kiggs.
Kyrgios is the poster child of highlight reels.
Yeah, Nick, you said you were the best grass court player in the world, and you were going to win. Did you see that?
I saw that, yeah.
I was like, what? Nick Kyrgios thinks he's the best grass court player.
He's ranked number 77 on the tour, but on grass, he's in there, huh?
I think he's smoking number one. Smoking the grass. He's number one at that. Maybe not playing on it. I mean that was an interesting comment. I was like, wow.
Oh, I like to see a little of the banter, and this French Open is shaping up to be something else, basically with obviously Novak's strong win today and strong effort in altitude there in Madrid. In Rome here. That it's really going to be really interesting, and hopefully we have all the top players at Roland Garros to play, and just to let them battle it out, because anybody could win at this point. I'll be interested to see what some of the odds are on all these players with the new guys, as well as the really new guy as well as the legend.
Oh, the new guy, Alcaraz.
He was the top one. They were showing that on Tennis Channel today. I was noticing the odds to win, and Carlito is numero uno to win the odds-on favorite right there.
That's
crazy.
That's incredible for the fact that these tournaments were just 2 out of 3. So to see it go up to 3 out of 5, I think I don't know. It's a longer haul in every single match. So.
And on the women's side, it's kind of the opposite, where there aren't 3 or 4 overwhelming favorites. There's really just one, Iga Swiatek.
Right, and she's done it kind of quietly, obviously, without a lot of the fanfare. But her forehand just looks like impactful. That you can't stop it when she slaps that thing and really just clubs it, and she's getting it by everybody. No one can really stop it right now, and she can move like no other. It seems like her footwork is just incredible.
She's tall, she moves well, she attacks, and you don't dare give her anything less than a great second serve. She's absolutely.
I think it's really cool too. She doesn't take herself too seriously. She's got kind of a little, she's intense, but she's playful at the same time. And it's refreshing to see that, and I think she avoids nerves by kind of just, laughing here and there. You'll see her giggle, you'll see her get mad, but she has a great approach to the game. It seems like that could take her a long way for a long time.
If I could ask you one more USTA question before we start the third set, because you just reminded me of something that I thought. Who are your favorite, kids up and coming players? I know you don't necessarily work in player development, but you're around USTA and you've got a pretty good ear to what's going on. Are there some kids out there that in the USTA market network that might be of interest on the men's side and the women's side?
Gosh, and how long are you thinking? How young? But I've really been a little more focused on college, the U.S. college players, which are obviously you got a lot of international players in D1 tennis. That it's really cool to see the Shelton kid there at Florida playing with his dad. Just crack serves. His serve is just a giant lefty bomb serve, and
that's Ben
and then the
Shelton.
younger. Yeah, Ben Shelton, obviously there. So, but as far as the younger guys, and gals, I don't know a lot of them in detail. Kalamazoo, I was at Kalamazoo last summer and saw an amazing amount of talent there. Literally, those top 5 to top 10 seeds are all. You look like they could jump right on the circuit, and obviously some of them are already doing well there. Zach from San Diego,
Zach Svida,
Zach Devite, wow, he's a talent and just got a really strong head on his shoulders that looks like a professional already. And then some guys there right behind him that literally are right there and have very high ceilings from some of these kids I saw at Kalamazoo.
Yeah, we enjoyed talking to Zach. He's been on the show, and we did a live stream of two of his matches
down at Austin.
Semis and finals of a tournament that he lost in the final. But what a player that kid is.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. He was quick. He should have actually he won the first set. He was up
6-2 and then lost something like 3-2.
Yeah. He had a chance. He was in the second set. I seemed like he was playing a kid from A&M, and Hadi Habib is a nice player as well. He's out there on the
he's
circuit.
A pro player, and he looks at where Zach looks like, okay, he's going to gain some weight.
Yes.
He's going to get bigger and whatever. Hadi Habib was already
he was a man.
6'2", 180, and just rocked the ball.
Yeah, Zach was about 5'7" and about 120.
Probably 5'9", 130. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But he had a little growing to do.
He's getting there.
He's getting there. Yeah, we really saw this kid, and he's coached locally by Matt Hanlon out of McKinney Tennis Center. And so we kind of like, okay, this kid's got something. And boy, he was fast.
He's also coached at Carson in USTA.
Yep.
He told us how excited he was. He moved out of his home in San Diego, and he has an apartment right near the training facility.
Right.
And it was like, all right, so what are you cooking tonight? What time you go to bed? Like, are you doing it right? And he really is.
Yeah, he sounds like he's a trooper right there. He's like Robbie Koenig says, he's a mongoose on steroids. He's a mongoose on steroids.
Amphetamines. Right?
I like that.
Yeah. So, all right, so we go to the third set.
We should. Who is the sponsor of this third set, CB?
Well, besides the United States Tennis Association, that would be Master Systems. Our good buddy Blair Descaret, he will make your specifications. But just like these courts behind us, he did our courts surfaced about 8 years ago. Actually, these courts are 8 years old right now. They look fabulous.
They're perfect. And they weren't bad to begin with.
No.
Maybe that one was, but they're perfect, and the lighting's amazing. Well done.
Yep. So Blair Descaret with the great master systems, any type of surface work you might need, nets to you name it. Call our buddy Blair Descaret with master systems. He might even go up to Minneapolis, maybe take a trip up to Minneapolis if Mickey might need something up there, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, Mick, we're going to do 3 sets in the third set, also 2. So hold on, you're ready to go, right?
All set.
Okay, first band you saw in concert.
Oh my gosh, I would say Duran Duran.
Oh, really?
Early, mid-'80s in high school, huh?
Yeah, about 8 in high school, a group of friends, we all went to Chicago to see Duran Duran, so that was pretty cool. It was a big show in Chicago there, big stadium, and a lot of screaming teenage girls, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Was it there where the Bulls played at the what was
United?
The
No,
not the United Center.
no, before that.
It was actually at the another place there, the Rosemont Horizon at the time it was called, and I think that same year we saw the Challenge of Champions, where they had Yvonne Lindell, Jimmy Connors, Wojtek Feeback.
Yes.
And I can't remember who the 4th player was, but that was a really cool event to see those guys play.
At the same facility?
Same facility, yeah.
Wow, feedback, slice backhand, and the guitar work of Nick Rhodes and all those good-looking.
I just saw they're going back on tour this summer, I think.
Yes.
So
Simon Le Bon. Simon Le Bon. Yeah, I've heard him on. There's some documentaries that are around. I've heard him talk. Yeah, they're interesting. That was they were trendsetters back there in 80. What was that? 85, 86, somewhere in that.
Maybe even 82, 83.
Was
like Hungry Like the Wolf.
Was that
Rio?
Okay. Yeah.
All those hits that came out back
That's
then.
right.
Yeah.
On MTV back when they played actual videos.
Back when it was music television.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was MTV. I always thought that was so cool. Music television. That was
the best.
Yeah. Are they your favorite band, or do you have prefer?
I like a lot of U2, Coldplay. I've seen all those multiple times. So whenever they go out on tour, I'll basically see them wherever they pass through. That's big and close enough.
What's your favorite type of music then? Or do you listen to kind of like
I like that.
music?
I like something like U2 basically, but I'll listen to some country there. Got family that's in country music for many years, and a niece my niece is out touring right now with Chris Stapleton. If you know Chris Stapleton, does quite well, but she's opening up for him right now and does quite well. Margot Price, so she's
okay.
She's doing well in kind of the Americana genre of music, and she does a lot of different collaborations. And Willie Nelson, she just played in there. She's on the Farm Aid board with Dave Matthews and John Mellencamp. She's the only female on their board of Farm Aid, so that's kind of cool.
Nice going. Good job. Margot Price. We'll look for that name.
She live in Nashville? Is she around the Nashville?
Okay. Yep, she's in Nashville.
So I think Stapleton is in Nashville too, isn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All the great country and Western singers.
Both kind of music, country and Western.
That's right. So I always like to ask this question, and I always think this tells a lot about personality. If you're in a band, and you might have been in a band, where do you stand in the band? Are you going to be the lead singer? Are you going to be a guitarist? Are you going?
I got my drum set right over here. So,
no kidding.
We're there. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Are you a Phil Collins kind of guy where you put the set on and start, keeping time and singing?
I like a little Phil Collins. Not so bad.
Ah, actually, did you ever play with D2? Did you ever play with Dwelly? Because he's a guitar player.
No, we've talked about that many times over the years because he's quite a showman.
Yeah.
He's a character. Yeah, we saw him down at the Davis Cup in Austin, and they were playing at one of those bars on 6th Street. I remember he was. Yeah. I walked out, I was like, "Damn, D2,
he's
Dave
good.
Dwelly.
Yeah, he's a good singer.
He can crank out the acoustic music like there's no tomorrow and really play anything."
Yeah, I was really surprised. I was like, "Wow, here's a guy who plays hocky. He plays the guitar,
obviously tennis
grew
also
up with
too.
Yeah. So the drums, you hit the skins. Who's your favorite? Who do you keep in time like?
Well, in drumming?
Yeah, in the skins.
Well, Neil Peart passed away, I think, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So that was a sad one for all the drummers. Certainly don't drum like him, but always would check him out whenever I saw them in concert a couple times. Probably about 10, 12 years ago. And it was a great show, and they were still as good as ever.
Yeah, that guy is awesome. Or do you like Ringo, or you like more the traditional type of? He's always
like
underrated.
Yeah, I like any 70s rock, 80s rock, you name it. Bring it on. I love it.
Yeah.
Love all types of music.
So you like Alex Van Halen, or do you sit behind 40 skins? You're sitting
40 piece,
all over the place. Are you doing that kind of thing?
No, we're pretty simple.
Oh, okay. Do you have a 3-piece trap? Is that what you got?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I was in a band in high school, so I was the trumpet player. I was not. I always wanted to play the drums. I always
cool.
I always thought, man, if you played the drums, and I was about to play the drums in 6th grade, but my friend, we were going to the music store in Lawton, Oklahoma, and he was going to play the trombone, and so I walked by the trumpet and I go, hey, that's what I'm going to play.
I want that.
I had talked myself out of playing the drums because I thought the drummers, those guys are cool, And
it's a workout too, You knock out a couple songs and you don't feel your hands anymore.
Right.
Full body, and that's why they wear wristbands.
Right.
Yeah. So many drummers have the tennis.
So this little guy right here, he probably, that was short hair back then.
The very subtle mullet on Mickey.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, we kept it tight.
Yeah.
So do you know Mark Gonzalez, the Onyx Rip down here in Texas? He's a drummer too.
I didn't know that. Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Great drummer.
Oh yeah, Marky Mark does. He keeps some time. So there's a lot of you guys around there. I'm going to have to learn. We're going to have to see. Are you on YouTube? Do you have a little YouTube channel?
No, nothing like that. Not allowed.
No. Okay. No. Only for your own amusement, then, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly. Just take out frustration.
Did you ever play in a band there in Aledo, Illinois?
No, just with a couple guys banging around. That was it. So
didn't have a garage band.
Nothing official, no.
No, nothing official. I thought
I had a brother play the drums a lot. My nephew does play right now in a band, and he's really good, but nothing nationally. He's playing at different venues probably every few weeks, I would say, for the last decade. But, he's quite a drummer. So we got a lot of drumming in the family.
Headband, shirt off?
No.
I mean, that's not Guns N' Roses, but
Chili Peppers. Maybe?
No. The drummer for Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
He can go upside down even.
Yeah, that's right.
That guy, he was such a horn dog. He had shirt off, headband. I can see Mickey doing that.
Yeah. I believe they're going on tour this summer too. I think.
Really, they're back out.
Yeah.
No kidding, man. Yeah. What's this? This is like the 80
everything comes back and it comes around again.
Right.
It really does.
Yep. Yeah. All right. First paid job. We're going to go in the second set now. All right. First paid job. Were you a paper boy back there in Illinois?
Teaching tennis for the Mighty Mites, young kids like that at a local club. So, yeah. And working as a junior assistant at a tennis club that my brother ran. So I would be sweeping the courts, stringing rackets, whatever else could do to make a couple extra bucks.
Wow, they're in Aledo? Did you all have a...
in the Quad Cities.
In the Quad Cities? Okay, you drove up.
South Park Tennis Club, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a great name, South Park. And Quad Cities are what? Davenport, Moline,
Rock Island, Bettendorf. Yeah.
Bettendorf.
John Deere headquarters, how he would always explain that area there. Basically, the John Deere Green, basically, come out of that area.
How far were you from Davenport?
About 30 miles, 25 miles probably.
Yeah, so
pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. It's within
short drive,
right?
Yeah.
Or bike ride.
Mm-hmm. Or bike ride.
Bike ride
in the wintertime. Downhill. Yeah. All right, favorite movie, TV show? Do you watch movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff?
Gosh, I'll get into some of those like Breaking Bad or loved The Sopranos years ago, things like that. So I'll catch those. Haven't really watched one lately. I've been too busy, I guess.
Yeah, always got something going. He's hitting those skins.
That's a good sign. Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Wow, I'm a big breakfast guy, I gotta say.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Special occasions, dinner, but breakfast guy, I don't miss it. Usually try to get a healthy smoothie to start and go from there.
Is this like Smoothie King, or is this a Maule family?
Home recipe.
In the blender at home.
Yeah, blender at home, almond milk, whey protein, some greens, and some fruit, and we're good to go.
Love it.
How many blenders have you beaten up?
Two over the last 10 years. Those blend techs that basically destroy your hearing.
Right.
They're so good. So
They
good,
can chop
so
up
loud.
golf balls, but they are loud.
They sound like a jet engine going off in the kitchen. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
you need some earplugs on when you're making a smoothie.
Or if you have a teenager who wants to sleep a little,
You just go turn that on in their room. So, all right. So speaking of food, we always like to ask this question as well. This is one of our staples. So we know that we'd be invited to this soiree, hoedown, shindig, as we call it in Oklahoma, dinner party. Let's say up at the Maule place or wherever you might want to do this thing. Who are some dinner guests that you might like to invite? Besides, we know we'd be invited, obviously, and your wife and probably immediate family. But are there anybody back through Adam and Eve all the way? They can be in the metaverse. They could be anywhere.
fictional characters, or
characters,
historical figures, or
Bart
current
Simpson,
current sports stars, whatever you like.
Whatever you like.
Dinner for four.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would it be? I'd probably have some music people there. Someone like at the time of World War II to have like Churchill and Roosevelt in to have dinner. That would be the two guests I would have right there. During World War II to hear their side of things.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fascinating. We've had Churchill mentioned before. And I don't think, I don't think FDR we've had, but
I think we've had Teddy, but not Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Yeah.
Both of them would be fascinating people.
I think Franklin and Churchill, and see how that whole dynamic came about, where U.S. was sitting out of things and got some interesting parallels going on now with that. But it would really be cool. And with Roosevelt, they never show him waist down. They kept everything. It was so hidden. It's like just amazing that the way things worked back then, and it wasn't that long ago, really.
No, I mean that's the power of the media right there. You're able to show what you want. I'd never had thought about that until you heard that. It's like, they never showed him in a position where he was always sitting down, or he was in a car riding.
Right.
He was never up walking around.
The power of the camera and the editing and the framing.
Yeah.
Which is why Duran Duran was such a successful rock band.
Right. Right.
The videos.
That's right.
Can do a whole new level.
That's right.
Girls on film, and just the telegenic everything about them. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Girls Gone Wild, but so is there any other guests besides the Roosevelts and the Churchills?
Oh gosh, maybe some music people.
Yeah.
How about Paul McCartney? That'd be pretty cool.
Sir
with
Paul.
as many generations as he's already touched, and the stories that these guys have would be pretty cool.
Yep. Anybody else? It could be just that, if you like it.
I think that would suit me just right.
That's a good trio,
Yeah.
and Churchill and Paul will have a few a little back and forth too. That'd be good. You picked a good group. I like it.
Are we serving smoothies, or what are we serving at this dinner?
No, I would probably have, since I'm the chef at home and my wife's originally from Peru, it'd probably be some Peruvian, since that's what my mother-in-law gave me some good recipes years ago.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
You're a cook also too? You do most of
just keep it very limited, but that's my favorite.
I'm good at buying from the, ordering from the to go at the club. My wife's like, "Are you cooking tonight?" I go, "What do you want?" And I can cook anything I can over there at the club. I can drive right by and pick it up.
The to-go bag. Craig has skills.
I got sweet skills like that. So I got no cooking skills whatsoever. I can't boil water without messing it up. So at this soiree, besides the Peruvian food, anything else that you might think that any desserts or anything like that?
Desserts? Wow, nothing like some good apple pie.
Ooh, there we go. Yeah. So with ice cream, a la mode.
You got it. Any time of the year, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be the holidays. Doesn't have to be Halloween or the fall. It could be anytime.
Anytime. East Coast or West Coast?
Gosh.
He's going to say Midwest, but let's see.
You're spot on. I like Midwest values, and everybody you meet in the Midwest is just always going to be your friend.
Yeah.
And always been attracted to that, though I like warm weather too. So, but I'm a fan of the USA and traveled a lot and appreciate everywhere I go in the world. But I'm just a kid from the USA. So.
Yeah. East of the Mississippi or west of the Mississippi, I should say. If
he is
he's right
on
there in
the
the Mississippi.
Mississippi.
I know that. That's why I said that. I had to think there regionally right there. So, mountains or beach? Are you a mountain guy, beach guy?
Gosh, I like to ski a lot. Got out a couple times this year, but love water sports too. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
That's why he said it.
If it's winter, I like skiing. If it's summer, I like the beach. So.
Right.
Awesome.
Now, growing up in Illinois, did you ever play hockey? Were you a hockey kid?
I did not play much hockey, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there was some hockey around, right? Was there some hockey?
Yeah, not as much in Illinois. Obviously, in Minnesota, they call it the state of hockey, but not too much hockey. Have a lot of friends that have played hockey through the years and had great careers, and they always end up being really good tennis players. The hockey guys, they have that great two-handed backhand. It seems like, and it carries over well, and they're always really fast and incredible athletes.
Yeah. Good balance. They can swing that stick pretty well.
That's right. Yeah.
Sunrise, sunset. I got an idea that you might what you might say, but sunrise or sunset?
I like sunrise. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. He's a morning guy. I figured that because since he said he likes smoothies for breakfast,
early.
Likes to get up.
Too many early flights over the years, so I'm just too used to getting up for early flights to go somewhere.
So did you get up at 5 in the morning? Like AJ gets up, he starts talking with Lane Evans or our tennis tycoon.
Kyle LaCroix in Florida.
You know Kyle LaCroix down in Florida?
I've heard that name.
Yeah, amazing guy. Yeah, he's a USPTA tester, and he's become such a good friend. He gets up at 4 Eastern,
and these guys
he has to like hold himself back because he knows that's 3 here, and I'm definitely not up yet. But
I'm not that early, but 6 will do it probably. Yeah.
Do you like work out at 6 a.m.? Or are you one of those guys that likes the early morning workout, or are you more the?
I'm not. If I do early morning, it's more of like a walk or something just to kind of wake up. But I'd rather work out in the afternoon, more of an afternoon workout after work, just to go stretch out, etc.
Yeah.
It's like our buddy Lane Evans. Lane Evans is like
4 in the morning.
Geez, that guy. I mean, he's posting stuff on. He's from up in Oklahoma right now. He's
right, Norman.
Yeah, he was from North Carolina, then moved out to Oklahoma, but he's posting stuff like at 4 or 4:30. And it's like,
crazy.
Where's everybody? It's like, well, they're asleep. Lane, come on. It's like, geez. Another morning guy.
He's a beast, though. He's always working out, and then he'll have a picture of the watch.
Time clock, yes.
It's like, wow, 4:15, you're sweating already.
But favorite season? What's your favorite season? Summer, spring?
Favorite season? I love the fall.
Do you?
Just love that nice 50, 60 degrees and the change of colors. Just love it. Love October, and that'd be my favorite.
Yeah. The Indian summer up there in Minneapolis?
That's right. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I remember going up there. Oh gosh, I think went up there for a Play It Again convention. They still do the
There
Play It
you
Again?
go. There's their headquarters here in Golden Valley, Minnesota, a suburb of Minneapolis, and those stores are doing well. They sell tennis products as well in there.
Yeah, they were great. And I did not really think about Play It Again. This is when I was the Prince rep. And I remember seeing these bridges that were enclosed that went from building to building. And I was like, well, why do you guys have that up there? They go, it gets kind of cold up here, Craig, in the wintertime. I'm like, yeah.
It's, I'm sure, very useful about 4 months.
Yes, especially around December, January, February. I'm sure that
exactly.
It gets a little chilly up there, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed. Good time to be traveling.
Yes. Well, speaking of traveling, what do you like to do in your spare time when you have a spare moment?
Gosh, well, I was telling AJ before we got on that because of the podcast tonight, my off-road mountain biking was cut in half. I had to get back in time and eat something before this. So I'll do a lot of even fat tire biking in the wintertime, mountain biking in the summer, just to keep the legs in shape and not put any more mileage on my knees from the years of tennis. So I'll do that to stay in shape a lot. And obviously I'll try to play tennis when I can. And if it's singles, I'll play on clay, but doubles on hard courts, I try to keep just a doubles basically. But I'll get out at least once a week for a good hit usually. And that seems to keep me in shape.
I've tried the fat tire biking up and down hills. It's amazing. And you can just roll over anything, but in Minnesota. Have you done something I've only seen? The thing where the nails are in the tires? The spikes?
Studs on the tires. Yeah, you need to have those. If you go on the mountain biking trails in the wintertime, you'll find out real quickly, if there's a shady area and it was a little warm the day before, it might pick up a little bit of
ice.
Glaze. It doesn't matter what tires you have. You'll go down and you'll go down hard. So, the studs are definitely a key requirement for the real winter fat tire biking.
Love it. I'm going to try it one day.
About that.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous if you don't have the right equipment.
Yeah.
Did you ever talk to our buddy Bruce Gullickson, up there in Minneapolis?
Bruce, he just went into the northern section of USTA Hall of Fame. I think that ceremony was in November, but he's a legend, great guy for the sport, great ambassador of tennis. I met Bruce when I first became the Prince rep, moving to Minneapolis in 98 or 99. And I remember being the Prince rep, and he's a Wilson guy his whole career, going to the club he was teaching at. And he, was very welcoming. He said, come out, I'll take your demo bag and I'll introduce those rackets to all my players. I'm like, wow. And that's when I knew I liked it here, when you have teaching pros that were that, open and welcoming, basically trying to help grow the sport. Simple as that. And that's all he does. He's just such a great ambassador. And I was wondering, did you clear your name, the At the Net podcast, through Bruce? Because his saying is, the party's at the net, basically.
Yeah, I guess we didn't get it Bruce approved. But,
we didn't.
Yeah, but his
we'll stroke him a check.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to do that.
He might have to check on that. Yeah.
He might own that. He didn't own the athenetpodcast.com. So
yeah, we did
check that out.
Bought a lot. We did buy those.
That domain name. But yeah, he's a great guy. I met him a couple of years ago through USPTA, and just seems like I just remember I was like, he's from Minneapolis. I know that Brewster's up there, and really nice guy, good guy. So I figured you probably ran into him. All right, back to now we're going to go to the third set. Yes. All right. So we're going to bring this back to some tennis stuff. First racket that Mickey Maule.
That was an easy one. That was a Davis Imperial.
Oh, the T.A. Davis Imperial.
Yeah.
That beautiful grainy brown wood with the striped grains up. Yeah.
And those were really beautiful rackets.
Oh,
and I think they were out of Chicago.
Is that where they were? Okay.
Yeah. They're made out of Chicago. And sad to see they never really made it, past that 70s part of the tennis boom. But really cool brand. That was definitely my first, foray into really looking at rackets, and was really attracted to that racket, and then switched to a Kramer after that, shortly thereafter into the Wilson rackets.
Yeah. Which Kramer, autograph or with the brown diamonds pro staff?
Autograph, and then to the pro staff
and then,
with the diamonds. Yeah. And then to an ultra.
And then the ultra like him. Yeah.
There we go. What's your racket of choice today? What do you play with?
Yeah. What do you get to use now?
I use a Wilson blade that, from the time I was at Wilson, great all-around racket. You see a ton of them on tour and college tennis, junior tennis, and I'll even sometimes pick up my Pure Strike that was also one of my favorite rackets there.
Love that one, yeah.
From Babolat. It's got a lot of great feel in it, and so I can pick up and play with either of those on any given day pretty much.
Which strike paint job is your favorite? The current red and white, or that middle one with the lava, mostly white, look like an Apple product?
Yeah.
Or the first one?
I liked the first one because I thought it was a game changer design and cosmetic there. Right. Came out with that. It was all black with the red stripe going partially through it like the Babolat traditionally does. So, yeah, I like that black version I originally had.
What'd you play with in college?
Played with the Prince. Prince Graphite Mid for quite a few years, and was on their national team as part of college tennis, and played a lot of satellites and futures after that with those. And so a lot of days with Prince early on as well.
That was always an easy racket to string, 90s or 110s, because you always skip 7.
Oh, the 90s, and it was only 14 mains.
Right.
Yeah.
That was such an easy
racket. Get that done in 12 minutes.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Indoor tennis or outdoor tennis?
Gosh, I grew up playing so much indoor tennis. but I've been to so many clubs, it seems like, in my life, my career, that I want to play outside any chance possible. I want to avoid playing indoors. So I like anytime working out, I like to be outside. I'll never get on like a treadmill inside. I'd rather go outside for a walk or a run and get fresh air. I've always been like that. So that's not changing pretty much, but I'll play indoors when I have to, but if there's a choice, I'll definitely take outside.
Most embarrassing moment in tennis? Have you had one of those moments where you kind of tripped and fell into the net, or, you know? I had a couple of moments where I've done some stupid stuff that cost me.
Yeah, not one that I had, but I was on the court when I saw a guy that forgot to wear his shorts under his sweatpants.
Oh, no.
It wasn't me, but
Was this in college, high school?
That's a good one. No, it was like in a men's open tournament when I was maybe in college playing against someone a little older than me. But yeah, that definitely
you walked out there and just kind of dropped his shorts, and then all of a sudden everybody's kind of like, hey, what's Harry over there doing?
No shorts, no underwear.
He's trying to intimidate his opponent, I guess, you know. Or maybe.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
That's pretty funny. Hadn't had that happen.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Favorite tournament? You know, you've played all over the place. I know that. And it could be a pro tournament, amateur tournament. It could be the Alito Open at Alito High School. And,
Gosh,
you know, favorite tournament. Yes.
Or it could be the one in your background right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I got to say, even I got a couple different ones, but Kalamazoo was pretty impactful going there. It literally felt like a U.S. Open for juniors, and seeing the buzz. There's, you know, vendor booths set up everywhere. All the rep brands are there. College coaches are everywhere. So that was pretty impactful, getting there in the boys 16s to first see that. And so that would definitely be my favorite. And my son got to play it this past summer. So it was really cool to go back there. After last time I was there, I was college recruiting probably. But so that was cool. And to see they still got that tradition of that tournament going stronger than ever. So.
Yeah, that's I never qualified for that out of the Missouri Valley. That was a little too high water for me at the time. I always heard about the zoo and wanted. Did you play there too?
I never. I was endorsed to go to some of the other ones, but not the big one.
You didn't go to
that huge
the big
one.
zoo. You went to the little zoo.
No, but like indoors or the clay one.
Yeah. No, that was always a rare honor. In 16s and 18s, I know that a couple of my friends went up there, and they treated you really nicely, and to be able to play in that thing, that was full on like U.S. Open. What's in the background of Mickey
no doubt.
There. So I know you got to around top 1,000 in the world, and you had some really good wins. Who would you have liked to play in your career that you didn't get a chance to play? Let's say.
Gosh, well, got to play Agassi a couple times in the juniors. Once for a gold ball, I ended up with a silver in doubles, so against him. And but gosh, I don't know. Played a lot of those guys in the juniors. Courier, and played him in I think it was Bermuda, one of the money tournaments over there or something. Towards the end of my playing days there, but I don't know. No one really missed playing.
Sampras, did you get to play Pete? Did you ever play Pete?
Played him in doubles really early on, maybe in the boys 14s, and he played with another kid from California. Played, I said Courier. And a lot of those guys, it was just so cool to even watch them play. You knew in the boys 12s, you could see some of these guys, how special they were, the way they hit the ball. And didn't realize there were going to be so many of them out of that age group that exploded onto the tour and basically became number one in the world, quite a few of them. So pretty cool just to be around that and be one of the guys they beat up on along the way.
Did you play Pete when he had two-handed backhand, or did he?
Two-handed. I remember. He had he played with in the 14s. He was playing maybe even still with a pro staff wooden racket, and then he switched to I remember it was the Kneissel. I was playing with the Kneissel at the time for a while. One. The Arrow actually was called, and he was playing at that racket as well. And I remember he showed up at one of the tournaments, maybe then in the 16s, and all of a sudden he had a onesie there, and I was like, whoa, you had the best two-handed backhand. And I just remember people talking about that. I was like, wow, what a risk he took, and I think he still would have been incredibly good with with the two-hander for that matter. His return would have even been better.
Yeah.
But I do remember watching in the 12s and 14s when you'd stick around, and I'd stick around in doubles longer than I would in singles. And basically you watch his backhand was just magical the way he cracked it, literally just a whole nother level. And that was a two-hander early on.
Wow, that's amazing that he took that big a risk. Why do you think he thought that?
I think they always talk about Laver, and he wanted to have that versatility of hitting the slice and being able to be a little more versatile. So today, a lot of people are not doing that. It's nice to see someone like Tsitsipas and some of these guys, and I don't think people realize how good Wawrinka's one-handed. Was so incredibly strong. What he could do with that shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's Dom Team. Dom, you have a good one. You have a good one-handed backhand, don't you, Dom?
I appreciate you mentioning me, Craig. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a joke. I can't make it back at the moment, but give me a couple weeks, okay?
Yeah, no, he's got his wrist is still bugging him. I think
I really feel like he's hit in a way that what happened to Jim Courier, that he always let's go train after a 5-set match and let's play a few extra 10 tournaments a year or whatever. And you'd hear of Team doing that the last few years, prior to him winning the U.S. Open. And it's kind of like your body eventually just says enough, and for him, it's going to be hopefully not the wrist like took out Del Potro that, for so much, because he would have probably had some other slams. And, and unfortunately, I think his case it might be overtraining and put so much stress and load on that wrist.
And I believe with Del Potro, it was this wrist, which impacts his double-hander, so he could still slice. But with Dominic, it's this wrist, so it's both shots.
Both,
Sad.
Yeah, it's not. Hopefully he can recover for it, because it'd be cool to see him in the mix with all these guys again this summer. Could be an incredible summer of tennis, like the U.S. Open. My son and I were just talking about how amazing matches happened last year. Like every round was just epic. It seemed like men's and women's.
Yeah, no, it's a good time for tennis, especially coming into New York at the end of the summer. I mean, I'm glad the pandemic is coming down a little bit. I know that's the last couple of years has been a really difficult time for everybody, not just U.S. Open trying to get the crowd like you have behind you. I'm glad to see that, like in Rome, it looked like they were out there in full force. It was nice to see a good crowd out there, and I'm sure that the French is going to have a good crowd. Wimbledon, and then the culmination, at the Granddaddy and the Big Apple there, right behind you, that will have capacity crowd. Is there anything? I'm just thinking about this. Is there anything more the USTA can do up there? I mean, that you can think of that. I mean, it's already a great facility. You've got 2 stadium courts right there that are just ridiculously nice, and both have coverings on top, for the opportunity if it rains. Is there anything else the USTA is thinking about, just out of curiosity?
Well, I think you'll see one of the things that's going to expand is the fan week, the week of qualifying, free to get in, free to watch. You guys know the level of tennis is incredible there. Just to go watch that. And I encourage a lot of people, if you want to go see that, just go walk in and watch. And everywhere you look is going to be the same quality of match you're going to see 5 days later in the first round, for that matter, and a lot of those same players. So that's something that I think can, grow that event, and as well as grow the game, just because you can bring in a lot of other people. Arthur Ashe Kids Day, we're going to get back to full scale with that this year. That really was kind of shut down for the past 2 years with the pandemic. That wasn't able to happen despite the tournament going on. So really looking forward to that, and bringing in a lot of the foundations kids from across the country that get to play and participate in that, to really inspire them on the sport.
Yeah, and the kids, like a kid-friendly band too. There's always a pop band or something, and that's, I think, missed this past two years.
Yeah, that's been missed. I'm not sure if the big band portion is coming back, but for sure all the kids' events on 7 different courts going on for 7 days is going to be at full scale.
They're going to do a drum line, and Mickey's going to lead the drum line.
Yes.
Go down through the USTA and has the big drum, and he's going to be down there.
Yeah, I'll be happy just feeding balls. So that's good.
That's good.
Who's your favorite player? Just out of curiosity, who do you?
Gosh, all the years working for Babolat, it would always see. I like to always see, obviously, the Federer, Nadal. finals, because it was the closest thing to my childhood growing up and watching the Borg McEnroe finals or the McEnroe Connors or Connors Borg finals. That literally just, that's the only thing that's come close to that there. And obviously, I like to see that rivalry of those legends, and glad they've stuck around longer than most humans could do it.
Do you think Fed comes back? Think the King makes it back, or Serena? Even?
I think he will, at least in a handful of select tournaments. But that would be my guess.
What about Serena? Do you think she'll make it back, or she?
I think maybe two for a select tournament. Yeah. I mean, it's just she can pick and choose, and probably in a few weeks she dials it right back up, gets in a few practice matches and 1 or 2 warm-up tournaments, and I think she'll be good to go. And they've taken so good care of her body, all these players, that they're in incredible shape, and what they eat and what they do, it's a whole different level.
Yeah. It's not a beer and smokes leagues like it was back in the 70s. No. You see those guys talking about, tennis back in the 60s and 70s. These guys are, hold on a second, let me put my cigarette out. There we go. Okay. All right. Where's the beer? Okay. There we go. Yeah. It just seemed like that they would. It was just a Playboy. I could see the cardigan sweater, and just kind of driving your nice, car,
right.
having a smoke and a beer, or a highball, maybe a Manhattan.
Nice.
Any superstitions or rituals did you employ during the day, like not step on the lines, or did?
Yeah, I never like to step on lines during a match, so I definitely was one of those that walked back and. Careful way. Maybe the more stressful a match, the more that would become apparent.
Yeah. All right, last couple of questions here. All right, we're rounding the corner here. What sport would you have played if it wasn't for tennis? If the great game wouldn't have been such a part of your life, what do you think sport-wise you'd be playing?
Gosh, man, that's a tough one. I would have played basketball longer. Loved playing basketball as a kid. Would have. Maybe tried to ski more than I did, because tennis was always be careful, don't ski too much, and then there. So I don't know. I think I picked the right sport. That's all I can say. So I'm happy I stayed in tennis, and I still feel like I'm, competitively playing the sport. And I just saw from the ITF seniors they had down in West Palm Beach that finished, I think yesterday, that King Van Nostrad. I was years ago. I was on the international competition committee where we pick all those senior teams. I played on it in the 35s and 40s, and but I saw King Van Nostrad just won, I think, the 85 and over for his, I don't know how many international gold medals he has in that, but he's 87, and that's inspiring. It's like, wow, you can. Yeah. I could take 10, 20 years off and make a comeback and. play some international tournaments, which it's very competitive. I remember being on that committee, and some of the wives of these husbands players would be calling me, being on the committee, trying to advocate for their spouse in the men's 80s.
Really,
we were picking the team for that. Of he had a hip replacement that match. The month before that match he couldn't play. Hopefully that loss didn't hurt him, etc. So it's people don't realize the senior tennis, and I think they're changing the name of it actually officially, the ITF, to Masters. It's all going to be called Masters, which I think is a great idea. But it's really cool to see all the men and women all the way up through the 80s that can play competitively. And it doesn't get a lot of press or hype, and I think that's something the Tennis Channel should pick up sometime. And wow, there's people playing, competitively in these international matches that are over 80 years old. You can't do that in a lot of other sports.
King was such a legend in New York, even in 45 and overs 40 years ago, 30-something years ago. And still a legend, winning gold balls. Amazing.
Yeah.
You didn't get any people going, hey, do you want to come down to my summer home down in Fort Lauderdale? And, if you get my husband in, you didn't get that kind of stuff, did you?
The bribes.
Get a little.
That's the way it goes.
Keep going. I can get you on. Come on. It's not a week. Give me 2 weeks.
Keep talking.
3 weeks. Speaking of, this is the second part of the question. So if you wouldn't have been involved in sports like the great game, what would you be doing, you think?
Gosh, if I wasn't in sports in general?
Yeah,
Wow.
we're involved in sports. You're in a little different way right now. You're with USTA, and we're tennis pros, and AJ does some other stuff as well. But I mean, really, did you go to school and get a business degree, and you liked accounting, or did you
Yeah, I can't imagine what would be not working in sports. I pretty much said from day one, even when I remember when I was 12, I said, I saw a sales rep, Wally Craig, a longtime Wilson guy back in the day, was their national promo rep, and going to the boys, whatever it was, boys 12 or boys 14 Easter Bowl, and he's there giving out product, and I'm like, that would be a pretty cool job someday to work in the business side of tennis. So I knew eventually I'd get to that, and still holding to it.
Yeah, no, it's great to be involved in the industry you are. I mean, just to be able to hit some balls over the net better than some people. And, I know you've been a teaching pro, and you've played, and you've been
college coach.
The lives we've led have been such interesting, I think it's a lot of fun, man. All the people you meet, along the way.
Yeah.
So,
I think we in tennis can do a better job of even attract people to work in the industry with some kind of a sidebar thing we're working on as well, regenerating the careers in tennis page on the TIA website, and taking that to some new areas and kind of re-energizing that, reactivating it to see, because I think there's a lot of people that would love to work in the sport in various things. Club membership director, not even just teaching tennis, but there's a lot of peripheral jobs that would be really cool. Nothing like getting tennis people to work in tennis.
Yeah, there's that tennis on campus that you all do is unbelievable.
Yes.
I think that opportunity is laying right there for just people, whether it's USPTA, PTR, reps from Head, Wilson, Penn, whatever, coming by and just having a booth there and go, hey. There's some people who don't necessarily have to play at the highest level of tennis, but you're nice kids, and you might knock off a bunch of kids there that hadn't thought about tennis as a career, that might be thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got a history and political science degree, this idiot
like you,
right. And so what am I going to do? Yeah, and I think because I was down at Lake Nona during the Tennis on Campus finals. That was about 6 weeks ago. We had our USPTA meetings down there.
UCLA, I think, won it maybe. Yeah.
And so we walked over, and we had USPTA we had our executive committee meeting over there, and walked over, and sure enough, there were some kids from UT Dallas, which was just about 5 miles over.
Yeah, right over here. Yeah.
So I started talking to them, and it was just kind of fun to see some kids locally down there. But there was such a great atmosphere. USTA has created this tennis on campus thing that's a monster that has. I'm sure it dwarfs collegiate tennis.
Huge opportunity and upside on it to keep growing and attracting kids. I know there's a lot of kids that played national tournaments growing up, and they've elected to play club tennis because it's a little more social, a little less stressful, and it's co-ed. How cool is that? That it's co-ed, they still travel.
So cool.
So, hopefully the program continue to grow and expand and make an impact. But it's been a great success.
Yeah, if you ever need a couple of guys like us to come talk about tennis, hey, I'm happy.
We're in.
I like it. Yeah,
happy to help you guys. All
right.
I'm a USTA Life member. I joined in 1984.
You got the deal
for $100.
You grabbed it.
No, I did. I thought
so smart.
I was teaching in Oklahoma City, and I thought it's $100, but and membership was like $15 at the time or $10, and I thought I'll probably be
7
around
years. Yeah, sure.
Right, and so I joined as
smart move.
I was a life member. I actually was a tax write-off too because I was a contract labor person. Yeah, working for Phil Lancaster up there.
1099 kind of.
Yep, and so I got to write it off, and I became a life member. So you all have me for life, no matter what. So I'm one of your biggest proponents. USDA's been such a great. I've learned a lot of things through the USDA. It's been a great organization. So, and I'm serious. I'm happy to come do anything. If you all need me to come down to tennis on campus and go, hey, come on. This is.
I like it.
Great deal.
I like it. So bring you along on our Tennis Industry Night roadshows.
Love those road shows.
Yeah.
Well
we'll
done.
do a live podcast from one. How about that?
We could do that.
We're in.
We know how to do this. Well, we did know how to do it until we ran out of technical difficulty. I didn't update. That's what it was. I didn't.
You found out what it was.
I pushed the wrong button, so sorry about that. On this deal. But all right, last question because we know we're running in. A little bit of time, sleep time probably for you. But if you could wave the magic wand, I always end this question. If you could wave the magic wand, you're the commissioner of the great game, and you could make a change to what we've got going on, or not. Maybe you like it the way it is. It could be amateur tennis, college tennis, high school tennis, tennis on campus, whatever it is. Is there something that Mickey Maule might wave the magic God's racket right here that AJ's holding right now and do anything?
Gosh, yeah. That I would say, your first thought is to go, hey, let's merge the tours, WTA, ATP, whatever. They seem to have a lot of opportunity potentially do that now. But I think the bigger thing is I'd love to mandate high school tennis is available at every school across the country. And that's the biggest thing. We've got basically 300,000 kids that play high school tennis in a lot of schools over the past 10 years due to great advocacy efforts of have no cut policies and that. And I just have witnessed it. My son, loved high school tennis, playing high school tennis after playing competitive junior tournaments. And then as a 7th, 8th grader, got to play on the varsity team. You realize, wow, it can be a great team sport. And that just turned a light on for him like no other. And I'm sure that same thing can be done in a lot of kids. I mean, that's where the base of this game is going to come from of high school, junior high tennis, and have a program. And it doesn't even have to be competitive, but that's what I'd like to see happen. Basically, it's offered at every school across the country.
Yeah, no, Texas high school tennis, I know you know about it. It's unbelievable. Just being from the state north and then coming down here. I mean, I know
it's a whole nother level, and their whole convention is the biggest in the country.
It's unbelievable. And my son played high school tennis. Is probably the greatest experience he ever had because the boys and the girls are combined together, and then they have a mixed doubles match, which there's 19 matches that go on in one duel, and everybody from 1A to 6A plays high school tennis. You can drive out, to West Texas, out to Big Spring, Texas, and there's, there's a football team obviously out there, but there are tennis courts out there. And then you drive to East Texas and you go over to these Canton and little podunk places, and there are, Van, there are courts there.
Yeah, it might be a 2A small school, but that's what they do.
They do that, and they have about 6 to 8 courts and all those little places, and it's unbelievable how high school tennis is. If every state were to do something like that, it would be unbelievable. What Ken McAllister and those guys back in the 70s, I know they started it back probably about 78, 79. I remember talking to Kenny Mack about, he was a high school coach at the time, and I think that's got the format. They started putting the doubles first and then the singles, but boys and girls were combined. I can't tell you, it was fun. I mean, I had some great times with the parents of the girls, and everybody was kind of into it, like, what's going on here, what's going on there. You're kind of pulling together, for this thing. But high school tennis was awesome. I just thought that I think every state should do it this way, or some form of this, kind of like what WTT, World Team Tennis with tennis on campus. You all have hit a home run with that as well.
So.
That's a great formula. It seems like.
Yeah, it is. And we were at a USPTA board meeting. Ken McAllister presented that of the 300,000 kids in America who play high school tennis, 60,000 of them are in this state, Texas.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
I didn't know that.
1/5 are in this state.
That's
Granted,
true.
It's a big state, but that was very impressive.
It was. I'm telling you, every school from 1A, you can have 100 kids in the school. Yeah. They play tennis, and it just started back probably about 50 years ago. Really getting where the format is what it is today. The mixed doubles wasn't in the format until about 20 years ago, because there might be teams tied at 9 matches also. That way now there's the mixed doubles component. So you have 3 girls doubles, 3 boys doubles, and then 1 mixed doubles match. So going on at the same time, and then,
of course singles and singles,
and then singles after that.
So that's 18 matches, and then the 19th match is mixed doubles, and it's always like, I really want to play mixed.
Right.
I want to play with her. I want to play with him. It's kind of what you mentioned, the co-ed.
That formula works.
What's also interesting is the fall season is for the team, and if you have a crummy team, then you have the individuals going on right now in the springtime. So you've got
spring. That's really cool.
Singles, doubles, and mixed, and they've got tournaments. And they do. It's a year-round sport down here.
So smart.
And I'm like, wow, they figured it out. And
they did figure it out. That's a great point, because I don't know of any other states that do that.
No, there's not. And I've talked to other people in the USPTA, USTA. USTA network, and I go, do you guys do this? I go, there's something special about this, because you need to look into it, and it's a fascinating how it builds, and all these coaches, that come down to the convention. I mean, they're loving it at the same time, and I've got 4 of my former pros that are high school coaches in around this area, and they're still going after it. And I was actually a high school coach. I was the JV coach for a private school this year. I wanted to jump into that foray in addition to oh yeah, it was fun, And I had a lot of I had a couple of members that had kids on the team across the street, the school. But high school tennis, it's unbelievable in Texas, Mickey. If you've never seen this in action, and I think you have, you've probably been down to.
I've never seen the state tournament. I'd like to see it sometime.
Oh, it's big. It's down in Austin typically, and it has been, or maybe in College Station right now. They moved it around, but I mean, there's hundreds of people walking around for that state high school tournament, and you have to earn your way there. You've got to go through districts, regionals, and then you go to the state tournament. The top 8 from each of the 4 regions.
Section,
move down to the finals. But it's an interesting look at how tennis, and some of the pros around kind of go, they got coaches and they're not really doing this or that. And it's like, well, maybe that's not your kid then. But there's the masses that are out there, that what you've hit on with tennis on campus, that's where the greater good is. It dwarfs, college tennis, just this intramural.
Yeah, the numbers. Boom.
Yeah. What? Just out of curiosity, do you know what tennis on campus throws out, the intramural tennis?
I think it's 20,000.
Wow. That's a lot.
More than that? Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that's just, and it's growing. I know that I've talked to a couple of kids that actually kind of play recreational tennis at our club. I've talked them into playing tennis on campus through their colleges in the last few years. I said, you need to go check on tennis on campus, because I was talking to a kid today, went to Baylor. I go, did you play on he wants to come work here this summer for about 6 weeks. I go, did you play tennis on campus? He goes, yeah. He goes, I had a good time. And I was like, there you go. So
excellent.
So that's the kind of stuff you guys are impacting, around this area, and hopefully people watching this, or it'll be rebroadcast, and we'll share this. There'll be a lot of people watching on a rebroadcast of this podcast. That's where we get a lot of our viewers from. Is I'll start sharing this stuff.
Yeah, some live, but a lot the next couple of days.
Next couple of days, we'll be watching this. But I encourage everybody to get involved with the great Mickey Maule. How can they reach you, Mickey? If somebody wanted to reach out to you with the USTA, can they hit you up?
Absolutely. You can email me at mickey.maule@usda.com.
That's pretty simple right there.
Easy.
Right?
Mickey.
Right.
That's it.
Right. .MAULE.
Right.
It flows.
Not like Mickey Dolenz. I think Mickey Dolenz was
the monkeys
was MICKY. If I'm correct, right?
I think so.
Right. He was minus the E, if I remember my Mickeys.
Yeah.
Unlike Tony Basil, who's saying about Mickey, you're so fine. That had an E in it. So that's where we know that.
I just want Tony Basil to tour.
Yeah.
I want Mickey Maule to drum
for
her.
That'd be awesome.
And I want her to sing the lyrics to Mickey.
We're going to make that happen.
We got to make it happen.
Oh, yeah. We'll hit her up on Instagram. We'll follow her, and we'll just track her down and go, we know somebody that is a drummer that would be great for your band. One song, one time in Aledo, Illinois at the convention center.
It's good.
Or at the Armory. There's probably an Armory in Aledo, Illinois.
Exactly.
At the National Guard Armory. Yeah. So we can get some chairs, and then we'll set them out right there, and then have us a good time right there.
Love it. Mickey, what a great guest you've been, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Loved it. Anytime.
Yeah. Anytime. Well, we'll be back then.
Love to talk tennis.
What are you doing tomorrow night about this time?
Monday night.
We can fire it up again. Now that I got us back on. After I had a brain cramp on the deal.
Well done on the media side, Mickey. What an awesome guest.
Thank you.
Thanks again, and we've learned so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Keep in touch.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Great, guys. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
You too. Let us know if we can help you. Trust us. We're happy to do it.
Happy to speak. Happy to help.
Yep.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Thanks, buddy. Take care. Good guest.
Oh, man, that was a great guest.
Sharp guy.
Oh, man, yeah.
Such a high-level thinker and doer.
Right. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. The great Mickey Maule from Aledo, Illinois. So, all right. So we shut down the podcast right now?
We should.
All right.
James Scott Campbell.
This is 2 hours with the second part, and we already did about 30 minutes, I think. So that was about a 2.5 hour podcast.
That was a long one.
Thank you, Mickey. We appreciate the time right there. So we're going to hit old James Scott Campbell up right there. And so hopefully there he is right there, right on cue. Thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 117 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week as we'll be rapping. We're going to be rapping with Bill Rapp, the Rapper. He's a sports agent up in Nampa, Idaho, which is basically the Boise area.
Oh, yeah.
Also join us on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock. We kind of do this, on 8 o'clock on the Instagram, right? On the gram.
We call it Tennis Shorts. It's a short version of our show. Yeah. You get to find out what's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts.
Big nothing right there. So also be sure to like us, follow us here on Facebook. We know there are people that watch that don't always follow. We always like to have new net heads, and maybe you might be able to pick up a nice little chapeau, right?
Like, share, subscribe, and we'll send you a hat.
Yep, and also tell a friend or friends is we want your friends, we like peeps to be our peeps, right? Over here on the Nethead Nation, right?
Why not?
All right, everybody. Well, that's the tennis news as it seems to us. Good night, everybody from Dallas, Texas.
Good night, everybody. Thanks a lot.